Good day. Today we will be creating a simple quiz using triggers and animation. So far, we have created quizzes and navigations using simple hyperlinks in PowerPoint. When we created those quizzes, we basically linked different slides so the presentation would navigate to a slide based on the user's response. But today, what we're going to do is have feedback show up on the same slide as the quiz questions based on the user's response. So, first of all, I am going to go to a blank slide that I have already created. This slide already has a title placeholder, and I'm going to use the title placeholder to type in my question. This is a very generic question. We're only using it so that we can test the triggers and the animations for the quiz. So I am going to go to shapes and select a simple rectangle, and I'm going to just draw this on the slide. Now I do not have to go through that same process again, because all I'm going to do next is copy and paste this box based on the number of options that I will have in my question. So I'm just going to right click here, copy, and I'm going to paste my boxes. And I'm going to remember the sequence in which I paste my boxes. So I need 3 boxes. I'm going to right click and paste again. And so this is my 3rd box, and I deliberately put them in sequential order because I will need information on where my boxes are in order to set my triggers. So if I want to know where my boxes are, all I need to do is make sure that I have a box selected. I click on animations, and I'm just going to give it an animation. The animation will not be kept, but I just need that so that I can identify the names of my boxes. So now that I've given this thing an animation, I'm going to go to add animation. I'm going to go to trigger, on click off, and here you see that I have 4 objects here. My title, which is a question box actually, rectangle 2, 3, and 4. And because I put them in sequential order, I know this is rectangle 2, this is rectangle 3, and this is rectangle 4. So my next step is to place a label on the rectangles so I know where they are. So now you see my labels. This is rectangle 2, this is rectangle 3, this is rectangle 4. The next step is to insert my response objects. This will be the objects that will give the feedback, and of course buttons, so that the user can decide what do they do next, basically. Maybe try again or move on to the next question. So to do that again, I'm using the same insert function button, insert shape, click on my rectangle. It's going to draw it, and I'm going to leave some space for another button which will give the user the option of trying again in this case. Now I don't even have to go back to check in animations what number this box is. I know it's number 5 because of the sequence in which it was inserted, and I know this one is number 6. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to copy this one and paste it, and you may be wondering why, and that is because I need a response box for the correct answer and a response box for the wrong answer. So this will be number 7, and of course I'm going to copy this one, paste it, and this will be number 8. So now I have 8 boxes on my screen. Now, what do I want to do? I want certain boxes, whether it be number 5 and number 6, number 7 and number 8, to show up based on the option chosen by the user. So if the user clicks on box number 2, then number 5 and number 6 will show up, or number 7 and number 8, based on whether the response is correct or incorrect. So to do that, I will need to set my animations and my triggers. But before I set my animations and my triggers, I'm just going to put some content in those boxes so it becomes clearer what the functions are. So I have placed some content in my boxes so that we don't get too confused as to what they are. So this box here, number 5, will show up when the wrong answer is selected, the incorrect answer is selected. And of course, number 6, try again, will accompany it. The user, to try again, will have to click on the try again button right here. And if the user selects the correct answer, then the correct box will show up with the next question button. And so the user will just click the next question button in order to move on to the next question. Okay? So in order for this to happen, we must set animations and triggers. Our triggers will be these boxes right here, box 2, 3, and 4, as well as the try again box. Okay? I guess it's easy to understand why these 3 are triggers, because these are the boxes the users will be clicking on in order to answer the question. But why is this box, try again, a trigger? It's a trigger because we want this response box plus this box, try again, to disappear when the user clicks try again, so that when the user clicks on the response, the appropriate feedback box will show up. If we don't do that, the feedback box that showed up previously will stay, and it will just become a little bit confusing. Okay? So what we're going to do next, we're going to set our animations and triggers first for the incorrect responses. We're going to test it, and then we will do the same for the correct response, and then we will just test the entire quiz slide. So let us set our animations and our triggers. Okay, in order to start, I need to select the boxes that will appear and disappear according to the user response. These boxes, okay, are our feedback boxes. So I'm going to start with the wrong answer box and the try again box, and I'm selecting both of them by pressing down the control button on my keyboard and clicking the 2 boxes. So that way I'm selecting both of them. Then I go to animations and I select the appear animation. What that does is basically make the objects invisible when you start off the presentation, but based on a trigger, it basically makes it appear. So the important thing here is the trigger. So what we need to do is go to the trigger option right here and go to on click off and decide which are our triggers. Notice my rectangles are labeled in much the same way that my boxes are labeled. So I know that my incorrect response is rectangle 3. So this is my first trigger. I will test this to ensure that it is working. So I'm just going to go to the slideshow option and I will click, and notice the cursor becomes clickable immediately as soon as I mouse over this box. I'm going to click on it, and as I needed, the response box appeared. But the problem is it does not disappear. When I click try again, nothing happens actually. So why is that the case? Because I need to set a trigger so that this box, try again, and the wrong answer box disappears when I click try again. So the next step in this process is to create an animation with a trigger that will get the feedback box to disappear, as well as the try again box, when the try again button is selected, is clicked on. So to do that, I will use my control button on my keyboard and select my feedback box and my try again box, and I'm going to go to add animation. Notice that I did not go directly to the animation pane to select an animation. If I had done that, it would simply replace the existing animation. So you always need to go to add animation. So when I go to add animation, I'm going to select the animation I need. I need it to disappear. So I go to the exit animations and select disappear. Now that I have done that, I need to set my trigger, just like I did with the first option. So I go to trigger, on click of, and this time I select rectangle 6, which is actually the try again button. So to test it, I'm going to go to the slideshow, going to click, and this is exactly what I want. I want always, when I click try again, that both the objective, the feedback, and the try again button disappear. Okay, so we are halfway there. The next step is to animate and set triggers for the other incorrect option, which is much the same as what we did a while ago. So this is my feedback box for my incorrect answer. So I'm going to set my control key and I'm going to select these two boxes again, and this time I'm going to add animation. Remember, I'm not going directly to the animation pane because it will more or less replace the existing animations. And I'm going to select appear because I want this to appear again if another wrong answer is chosen. Then I'm going to go to trigger, on click off, and this time my trigger is box number 4. The last time my trigger was box number 3. So I'm going to click on that, and as soon as we see the lightning bolt, we know that a trigger has been set. So we're going to test that. Let's see now, box number 4. This is exactly what I want. So if I click try again, I try box number 3, exactly. But I can't select the correct answer yet because I haven't set the trigger for that. So this is what we will do now. So now we need to set the animation and the triggers for the correct response. So I know that box number 7 and 8 are the boxes I need to appear if the correct response is selected. So I'm going to again press my control button on my keyboard and click on both boxes, selecting them. I'm in animations, and because there are no animations on those boxes yet, all I have to do is just select an animation from the animation pane, appear, and I set my trigger, on click off, and my trigger is of course going to be the box that has my correct answer, which is rectangle 2. And when I test it, when I click rectangle 2, this is what comes up. But notice when I click on the next question button, nothing happens. So that means I need to set an action on this button so that it will take me to the next slide. To do so, I simply select the button and I go to insert, action, and I select hyperlink to next slide. So that is assuming that there are other questions on other slides. Okay, So when we test it now, incorrect, we try again, incorrect, try again. But if the answer is correct, we click next and it moves us to the next slide. So I guess the next question for you is, how many times do we have to do this if we're creating a quiz in PowerPoint? My answer is only once, because this will serve as the basic layout, and all you need to do is insert a duplicate slide, the number of times that represents the number of questions that you will have in your quiz. Now I'm going to do that in a while, but before I do that, I want to format my layout so that it works and looks the way I want it to. Okay, so now that I have set my triggers and animations, I need to make my quiz a little more visually appealing. And so I will format my boxes so that they appeal a little more to the user. So I want my buttons here to actually look like buttons. So I can click on them and go to format, and I can go to shape styles and select something that's a little more appealing. Okay, something with a little more depth. Okay, and of course for my feedback slides, I want them transparent actually. So I am just going to select something a little more, something as simple as this. Okay, and the same for my options, because basically I'll just be typing text in there. I want something as basic as that. So that now that I have that, I will test it again. Let us see. Okay, right, so we are fine now. Now that I have formatted my objects, I need to do a little more. I want to make sure that the response or the feedback boxes are basically in the same area on the slide. So all I'm going to do, I'm just going to superimpose them by dragging one on the other. So I've dragged the correct answer box over the wrong answer box, and I'm dragging the next question box over the try again box. Now you might think that when we run the slideshow, this is what you will see, but actually this is what you see. So if the correct response is chosen, you will see this here. Let's go again. If the incorrect response is chosen, of course you will see this, and you can go try again. So basically you want to create the illusion that the responses come from the same place. Okay, so I have done that. What I want to do now is the simple task of reproducing this slide based on the number of questions I have in my quiz. So if I have a 5-question quiz, I'm going to reproduce this slide 5 times by making sure the slide is selected and going home, new slide, and choosing the option duplicate selected slides. So that's 1. So I have 2 slides. 2, 3, I have 4 question slides, and 4. So now I have 5 question slides, and I'm going to add 1 slide for the end of the quiz. Okay, so I'm going to type in now, and I'm going to type congratulations, you have completed the quiz. So now The next step is to go to each slide and change the questions. So on this slide, I'm going to not going to write a question in, I'm just going to type in question 2. This one question 3, because I want to demonstrate that we are able to navigate through the questions. This one is question 4. And this one is question 5. So this time, when we run the slideshow, we start our quiz. This is what we're going to see. So incorrect response, try again. Correct response, next question. So we're on to question number 2. Incorrect response, try again. Correct response, next question. Correct, next question, we're on to 4. Correct, next question, we're on to 5. And for the last one, we have ended the quiz. I want you to notice though that as we go through our questions, all the responses are the same. So the correct response will always be the first box. So to fix that, all you need to do is simply drag and place your boxes in different areas. So now my correct answer is on the second slide here. Is on this in the second box, I mean. Just keep dragging them. Okay. So now my correct answer is in the third box here. Just making sure that everything is set. Okay, so you just keep shuffling. You will just keep shuffling them, and kind of works better when you have more options. But I guess just for the benefit of learning this thing, we're only going to use 3 options. So we can just keep shuffling them. So this time, when we run the slideshow, this is our correct response here. This one is our correct response. So you basically shuffle the questions so that the correct response is never the same place. So to review, we used triggers and animation to create our quiz. We created boxes in which we will type our options. We created boxes in which we will type the feedback. We created boxes to serve as buttons so that the user can maneuver through the quiz. We triggered the animations by simply setting it so that when the user clicks on a box or a button, something will happen. Okay. Please don't forget always to save your quiz. Always save your quiz. Okay. Save your work. And now you are ready to actually type in the exact questions you want, to type in the responses. Remember too that you can do the same thing with images as well. Okay, so your options don't always have to be text, they can be images. And of course, you could add sound to the quiz.